They called them monsters, temptresses, destroyers of men. But what if that wasn't the truth? What if Hera, Demeter, Pandora, and the countless forgotten women of Greek mythology weren't villains at all, but victims of a story written by those who feared their power? This is not the mythology you were taught. This is the forgotten gospel of the mothers of Greek myth, the silenced voices of creation, vengeance, and survival. For centuries, Greek mythology has been told through a lens of glory, of mighty gods, heroic men, and divine conquests. But between those shining tales of Zeus's thunderbolts and Achilles' rage lies another story, a darker, quieter one. The story of women who birthed worlds, guided kings, defied fate, and were punished for it. They were called jealous, vain, wicked. Their rage was condemned, their pain ignored. But every myth, when you strip away the gold and grandeur, tells the same hidden truth, that the women of Olympus were not just bystanders, they were creators, catalysts, and sometimes casualties. Part 1. Hera, the jealous wife who refused to be silenced. They say Hera was a vengeful queen, jealous of Zeus's lovers, cruel to the women he pursued. The eternal nag, angry, bitter, cold. But stop and think. Zeus ruled Olympus, king of all, and yet he violated mortals and goddesses alike, leaving behind chaos and heartbreak. Hera, his wife, his equal in divinity, was left to bear the humiliation of his countless betrayals. Would you call her jealous, or simply human? Ancient Greek poets, mostly men, painted Hera as the embodiment of feminine wrath, the warning to women who dared challenge male dominance. But early pre-Olympian traditions tell a different story. Hera was once a great mother goddess in her own right, sovereign, powerful, and worshipped independently of Zeus. She was the goddess of women, childbirth, and the cycles of renewal. Zeus's marriage to Hera wasn't romance, it was conquest, a symbolic merging or subjugation of the older matriarchal religion under the new patriarchal order of the Olympians. When Hera fought Zeus, it wasn't petty jealousy, it was a rebellion, a goddess refusing to vanish under the thunder of her husband's rule. Part 2. Pandora, the first woman or the first scapegoat. You've heard the saying, don't open Pandora's box, but the truth, Pandora never had a box. She had a jar, a pithos, filled with mysteries. When she opened it, out poured sorrow, sickness, death, and humanity blamed her forever. Pandora became the Greek version of Eve, the woman who brought evil into the world. But early versions of her story, before Hesiod rewrote it, tell of a woman created by all the gods, endowed with every divine gift. Her name, Pandora, literally means all giving, not all gifted. She was meant to bring abundance, creativity, and curiosity to humankind, not destruction. But in Hesiod's works and days, written in a world ruled by men, Pandora was rewritten as a warning. Curiosity is sin. A woman's beauty is deception. Her desire to know is her downfall. Sound familiar? In Pandora's curiosity lies humanity's greatest fear. Not evil, but female knowledge. And perhaps the jar she opened wasn't a curse at all, but consciousness itself. Part 3. Clytemnestra, the Murderess or the Martyr. When Agamemnon returned from the Trojan War, he brought with him Cassandra, the Trojan priestess he enslaved. And as the stories go, his wife, Queen Clytemnestra, murdered them both. To the poets, she became the wicked wife, the betrayer of her king. But before she ever took the knife, Agamemnon had already sacrificed their daughter, Iphigenia, to gain fair winds for his fleet. Imagine that. Your husband kills your child returns with another woman and expects your obedience. Would her act still be murder or justice? The Greeks feared Clytemnestra because she shattered their ideal of silent womanhood. She ruled. Argos, in her husband's absence, governed as queen and avenged her daughter's death. Her crime wasn't killing a man, it was refusing to kneel to one. And so, history condemned her. But every blade she raised was forged in grief, not greed. Part 4, the Oracle of Delphi, the woman who spoke for the gods. She was called the Pythia, the most powerful woman in all of Greece, seated above the navel of the world. Kings, warriors, philosophers, all came to her for guidance. Her words could decide wars. Her prophecies could shape empires. And yet, we know almost nothing of her. Why? Because she had power that could not be owned. The Oracle of Delphi was no passive vessel. She spoke with the god Apollo, not for him. Her visions came from the earth itself, from vapors rising through the cracks of Mount Parnassus. A fusion of divine and elemental wisdom, the last echo of a time when earth was mother, not property. Over time, her image was tamed. The ecstatic priestess became the mad woman. Her power became superstition. Her voice replaced by the words of male priests who wrote down her prophecies and claimed them as their own. Yet, even in silence, her legacy endures, a whisper of the time when the divine spoke in a woman's voice. Part 5, Demeter and Persephone, the mother and the stolen child. The story of Demeter and Persephone is often told as a seasonal myth, the reason for winter and spring. But beneath it lies one of the oldest stories of motherhood and loss. Persephone, the daughter of Demeter, was abducted by Hades, god of the underworld, taken without consent, hidden beneath the earth. When Demeter searched for her child, her grief was so great that the earth itself stopped bearing fruit. Nothing grew. Nothing lived. It was not until Zeus, her brother, intervened that Persephone was allowed to return. For part of the year, thus came the cycle of seasons, growth and decay, birth and death. But what's rarely told is this. In earlier, pre-Olympian myths, Persephone wasn't a victim, she was a queen. She chose the underworld, ruling beside Hades as his equal. It was later, under patriarchal Greece, that her story became one of abduction instead of ascension. Demeter's mourning was transformed from the righteous wrath of a goddess into the sorrow of a mother punished for her love. The message, a mother's grief, a daughter's power, both rewritten to teach obedience. Part 6, Gaia, the forgotten creator. Before Zeus, before Cronus, before even chaos, there was Gaia, the earth herself. She was the womb of all things, the mother of titans, of mountains, seas, and gods. She gave birth to creation itself without need of a man or mate. And yet, her story ends in silence. When her children, the titans, are overthrown by Zeus, Gaia fades from the record. No temples, no cults, no glory. The ultimate mother of existence reduced to background. It's a poetic tragedy. How even mythology mirrors the erasure of the feminine divine. The goddess who gave life was written out by the gods who took it. But Gaia never truly disappeared. Her name lives on in every word for Earth. Every breath, every birth, every heartbeat in the soil is her whisper. Part 7, the pattern of erasure. Look closely and you'll see the pattern. Powerful women rewritten as hysterical. Curious women condemned as foolish. Independent women vilified as dangerous. Hera became the nagging wife. Pandora, the fool. Clytemnestra, the traitor. Even Gaia, forgotten. And the man, Zeus's violence became passion. Poseidon's cruelty became adventure. Apollo's arrogance became wisdom. Mythology is not just stories, it's mirrors. and for thousands of years. Those mirrors reflected a world afraid of women who would not obey. But beneath those reflections, the truth endures. The goddesses of Greece were not warnings. They were lessons. They were the architects of power and its victims, and perhaps they still are. Part 8, the Reclamation. Today, artists, writers, and scholars are retelling their stories. Pandora's jar, a metaphor for curiosity and knowledge. Hera, reimagined as the goddess of endurance. Clytemnestra, as justice incarnate. The forgotten mothers of Greek mythology are returning, not as shadows, but as voices. Voices that remind us that even when history tries to silence you, the truth finds a way to survive. Because every myth is a memory, and memories, no matter how buried, rise again. If these stories moved you, if you believe the past deserves to be retold from the eyes of those erased, then join us, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Because here, we don't just tell myths, we resurrect them. Thank you.